A great way to understand philosophical naturalism would be to assemble the ideals, or what I want to call them are vertices of the idea of philosophical naturalism, and to see it within its triangular structure and to see how each vertex interacts with each other. So the first vertex of this triangular structure would be to look at philosophical naturalism. And so philosophical naturalism is simply the belief, is simply the knowledge that the natural world is all that exists. And so what's great about it is that there is a part of agnosticism and there is a part of atheism within that. So agnosticism would be being unsure or being in the middle way, middle point between what you know to exist. And so you can't be in the middle way of something that you don't know exists. So we have to move on to the other vertex, which would be objective reality. So we're all under this teleological mission to understand exactly what absolute truth is, to understand objective reality. And so then we have to add the last vertex in these vertices of a triangular structure, which would be the burden of proof. So the burden of proof is the most important ingredient to the idea of naturalism, to suggest if something exists, now we can epistemically and use episteme to ground that notion upon progressing upon that idea. And if it does exist, that we can reform this thing if it's not absolutely proven, or if it's not something that is progressive to our idea of moving on with that thing. So what I wanted to, so we have to talk about substances and appearances, and that's why I'm trying to be careful with my words around it. And so it's better to see it as a triangular structure of how each vertex interacts with the other vertex to create this triangular structure of philosophical naturalism. And I think it's very important when we think about things like education. So if a child asks, or if a child, children tend to tell tales about things that they've seen and things that they believe as well. And it's not healthy to shut them down. You can help them exercise their imagination when we think about fiction and non-fiction things, when we think about fables, moral stories, and then it can slowly seep into religion. But I think that the three vertices that we have, the burden of proof, the objective reality that we're all in pursuit of, and also the atheistic idea of philosophical naturalism, and how the belief that the natural world is all that exists is something healthy. And it also gives the onerous, burdensome task onto posterity to try and reform the idea of knowledge, the idea of episteme, and thus progress throughout the world. And have, when we think about utilitarianism, if it can help people for the greater good, when we think about scientific experimentation and how we can measure things, I think it's important to understand those vertices and how they interact with each other to create an ideal such as philosophical naturalism.